Today we're going to talk a little bit about backstory, because one of the big things that I've seen in a lot of books is that there's way too much backstory. It's really important for you as an author to know your characters' backstories. It makes you have a richer character because it helps define why they do what they do and why they think what they think, okay? Backstory is really important for you as the author. Most of the time, backstory is not important for your reader. They may want to know it because they fall in love with your character, and you can always do something with it, okay? It's not like, coming up with their backstory is a waste of time. It's not. But backstory, most of the time, is not something the reader needs up front. It's rare that they need it up front. Really rare, okay? So, when is the best time to give your reader that backstory? When their actions determine it. If they're going to do something that nobody else would ever do, and you have no clue why they would do this thing, that's when you need their backstory. Don't give it before then, because most of the time you don't need it. You can weave that backstory in when it's needed and then weave right back out into the story. Just make it a natural thing. You don't need to know that my brother ran away when I was 4 unless my kid is running away and I am freaking out. At that point, you might want to know that I'm not just freaking out because I'm a mom concerned about my kid. I'm also having flashbacks to watching my mom sob on the back step, realizing she's got to tell her husband that his son has run away again. Okay, horrible scenario. You didn't need that at the beginning of the book because this is only a tiny minor scene in the book that to get us to where we're really going. But the scene is important, but you might need a little bit. And so all you need at that point is, she's overreacting a little bit, acting a little panicked when this kid's never done anything like that before. And maybe, because you know what? When I made a phone call when I was 16 to my grandma saying, hey, if I ever needed a place to go, because that's where my brother ended up going, if I ever needed a place to go, could I come to you? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm okay, but I've got a friend. I was desperate to help my friend. And I thought, well, maybe she would agree to my friend, if she remembered that she was willing to help me, right? My grandma called my mom and was like, Chautona's running away. My mom freaked out. Well, of course she freaked out. She knew me. She knew I wasn't going to do this. She knew it deep down. She knew. But she had that thing in the past that completely freaked her out. Why? It made her act irrationally. She came to school, she jerked me into class and said, what's going on? And I'm like, huh? And she's like, you're leaving? And I'm like, leaving where? Why would I leave? I had no clue what she was talking about. It never occurred to me that my grandma would just decide that I was going too, and I didn't understand as a kid that she can't do this. We're family, but this other person isn't. So it'd be like kidnapping. I didn't get that. All I thought was, I've got a friend who is ready to go on the streets and I want to stop her from the streets. And so my brain was there. My mom knows me. She knows there's been no problems in our family. She knows that I'm like, we're buddies. Why on earth would I be moving? But because of that experience way back there. So when she gets that call and she's at because we didn't have a phone, so the woman had to drive out to our house, get my mom, have my mom come back to her house to call my grandma back. And at that point, my mom would be flipping out. And I know that woman was going, why are you acting so? Chautona's not going anywhere. At that point, if mom had said, I've been through this once, I'm not going through this again, and took off, that's all the reader needs to know why this person's overreacting. We don't need that whole backstory. All we need is one line, someone referencing it on the side, or the person making a statement or whatever, but we don't need the whole story. You don't need to know about him getting out of juvie and how he wanted to visit a friend and how, as me as 4 years old, I'm watching my mom run, chasing him as he's jumping over the back fence and coming back to the porch and sobbing and me swearing, I will never do this to my mother. Okay? That's all an interesting story, but it has nothing to do with that plot. It doesn't belong in the book. And this is why info dumping is such a bad, horrible, terrible, no good thing. Too many books have way too much info dumping. And I've actually gotten to the point that sometimes I don't even want to put necessary information in because of how easy it is for people to just keep dumping. And I don't want to get there, which is, just as bad. You've got to give your readers everything they need. But there are times I don't want to because I'm like, oh no, it's just going to be an info dump, right? So the best place to put backstory is when it comes up. Except when you might want to do a little bit of foreshadowing, okay? Don't put the backstory in the foreshadowing, okay? Don't do that. But, that's not where you put your foreshadowing. Don't make your backstory your foreshadowing. Foreshadow what's coming in your backstory and then loop it back around into your current story. So you have a movie about a girl running away as, the mom comes home and these kids are watching this movie, right? About some girl running away and mom just kind of freezes a bit and goes, can't you guys do something else? Just turn that off and go do something. You just sit around and she's never cared before. She usually pops down and watches a movie with them and they're looking at each other like, okay, all right, turn it off, no big deal. It's a tiny bit, you didn't say anything about, whatever, but if the movie title is The Runaway, and they're just like, what are you watching? The Runaway. Well, turn that thing off and just go play. And she's overreacting, and they're like, Mom, they're like, just turn it off and go. Just do something. Just stop staring at a TV all day. And then she goes and puts the rest of the groceries away. If that happens in chapter 2, and then this scene with someone saying the girl's going to run away in chapter 8, when the mom starts flipping out, you remember that. You may not even realize you remember it, but you do. And so then you have something that's like, man, I swore, I can't handle it, and then you go in that backstory, little tiny thing, and then you get back into the story where you get the girl, and then you find out what's really going on in the plot is that this girl wasn't running away, but her friend did, and now her friend's in human trafficking, and they're trying to, get this guy, and this story isn't even about a runaway. It's about someone who was taken. But that whole runaway thing led into it in a natural segue. You get her background, you get why this mom is willing to risk everything to help get this girl back. Why? Because at first they thought she ran away. And that's what hooked the mom in. And then we find out it's this other stuff, and but it just this tiny little bit. But we did not need that entire mother's background. All we needed, we gave it a little bit of foreshadowing. You don't have to, but it's nice to, right? A little bit of foreshadowing to show that there's going to be this moment, and nobody's going to catch it until the moment happens. They're going to be like, you want that moment, right? And then you move it into the rest of the story. It just needs a line or two usually. You don't need a whole paragraph or section or anything. It just usually needs a line or two to just tell us why, but do it in a way that you get told through action. Don't just give me an info dump. Yeah, her mom watched someone run away, so her mom was traumatized, and her mom. Okay, you can do that, and sometimes it's just easiest because it's that minor of a part, and you've just got to get past it. But if it's that minor of a part,